Greetings, everyone. This is our study entitled Youth Perspectives on Online Privacy, a comparative study of survey findings and published research. This presentation will be presented by yours truly, Clay Argente, Leonard Ezekiel Potempendra, Rayo Valdez, Carlos Majosa, and Sophia Eunice Orio. So, first things first, have you ever felt uncomfortable when sharing your personal info, whether it be through online or through face-to-face conversations? If you are, well then worry not because you're in the right place. Our team's goal is to enrich you with more knowledge and ideas when dealing with situations like these. So these three pictures are the main and core ideas and topics of our discussion for this morning. Firstly, it will all but be safety. Secondly, privacy. And lastly, on youth. So this is our book that we chose entitled Survey on Privacy in Media and Information Literacy with Youth Perspectives. We chose Chapter 2, Youth Perspectives on Privacy and Safety Online. And it was published by UNESCO in so the background for the study. So through a study carried by Grizel in 2015, UNESCO surveyed the perspectives of 1,735 participants that ages range between 14 and 25. Their survey was all about on privacy and safety online. Also, it is part of a larger study on citizens' response to MIL competencies. It started in 2015 and involves 2,300 young men and women over 100 countries. The research was concerned with youth self-reported behavior online and their thoughts on important social problems facing today's global society. So the purpose for this study is to examine how young people understand and manage privacy and online safety. But also it is also to assess how MIL can or media and information literacy can improve awareness and knowledge of these issues. So, UNESCO's methodology is a quasi-experimental research. By quasi-experimental research, that means it is a quantitative method that tests cause and effect relationships by manipulating an independent variable. So, let's say you're a researcher, and what you're going to do is to intentionally change the treatment of your participants to see how they will react. The respondents again, their ages ranges between 14 to 25. It was a global participation over 100 countries, and then their data is collected through surveys. So, our methodology for our study is a descriptive quantitative survey, and by that I mean meant to collect numerical data from a group of people in order to describe what's happening. So, we also adapted the 28 questions from UNESCO's pre-course survey, and our respondents are grade 11 and 12 students from four different schools. These schools are namely Xavier University, Liceo University, USTP, and MOS. Xavier University and Liceo University are both private schools, while USTP and MOS are public schools. So, as for our data presentation approach, we decided that to divide our discussion into four different units. But before we start with the first unit, let me introduce to you all about what their goals and their focuses on each unit. So firstly, Unit 1, valuing personal privacy and that of others. It is all about understanding what privacy is, why it's important, and also it teaches you to respect one's self-privacy, but also respect the privacy of others as well. Secondly, Unit 2, personal privacy in connection with institutions. So it is a balance of privacy and security, and how privacy relates to institutions such as governments and online platforms and data collection. Thirdly, Unit 3, confidentiality in relation to personal security and protection. So it is all about the risk of sharing personal information. But however, we are also here to give you an awareness on how to protect oneself in online sharing. Lastly, but not the least, Unit 4, actions to stay safe, protect privacy, and advocate for privacy online. It is all about how to protect privacy, stay safe online, and promote responsible digital behavior. Now, let me present you the first unit, and I will be now calling the first unit's presenter, Leonard Padua.
So, thank you for that play. My name is Ezekiel J. Pontepedra, and I'll be talking to you about Unit 1, Valuing Personal Privacy and That of Others. So, let me start with a question. Have you ever felt uncomfortable when someone looked through your phone without your permission? Well, that feeling right there, that's why privacy matters. Now, what is privacy? So, privacy is the right to control access to our personal information, our space, and our private life. It allows us to set boundaries and protect ourselves from unwanted intrusions. So, in simple terms, it means we choose what to share and what to keep to ourselves. Now, why is privacy important for young people? As a young individual, we are still exploring our identity. Privacy gives us a safe space to grow, think, and express ourselves without fear. It protects us from misuse of our personal information and helps us feel secure both online and offline. Now let's move on to the first set of data comparing global research results from UNESCO in 2017 and the data we gathered from our own research. Before I begin with the first set of data, let me ask you a question. How important is your privacy to you? Are you someone who strongly protects it or do you sometimes overlook it? Now, moving on to the first set of data, let's begin with UNESCO, the data from UNESCO in 2017. The result shows that the majority of young people strongly agrees that privacy is important to them, while only a small number disagreed or stayed neutral. So this tells us that even globally, young people recognize privacy as a basic right. It also suggests that they are aware of the risk of sharing personal information and understand the need to protect their identity, especially in a world where technology and social media are widely used. Now, on the right side, which is from our research, our respondents also mostly strongly agrees that privacy is important. This shows that even in our own community, students continue to value and prioritize their privacy. It reflects that they are conscious of their personal boundaries and they are becoming more careful about what they share both in real life and online. Now, this is an example of a person who sometimes overlooks her privacy. Uh, this is a post that is captioned Init sa vegan. This may seem harmless, but it can affect privacy because it reveals your location by mentioning vegan. Other people online can know where you are or where you recently visited. Now, on the, now on the next set of data, which focuses on how individuals view the privacy of others. So before we begin with this data, let me ask you a question. Do you respect other people's privacy the same way you want yours to be respected? So moving on to the data, first let's begin with the data from UNESCO in 2017. It shows that most young people say they value the privacy of others. So this means they understand that privacy is not just personal, it also involves respect from others. It shows that they are aware of ethical behaviors such as asking for consent before sharing information and recognizing that everyone has the right to keep certain aspects of their lives private. Now, on the right side, which is from our research shows that most respondents also agree that they respect others' privacy. This shows that respect for privacy is shared within our community. It also indicates that students are learning the importance of trust and responsibilities when handling other people's information, especially in digital spaces. Now, before we go to the key points, let me ask you something relatable. When you guys ride a jeepney, do you look at other people's phones or do people look over at your phones? Well, that simple situation already shows how easy it is for privacy to be invaded without bad intentions. Now, so here are some key points to remember about respecting others' privacy. So, privacy applies to everyone. We must use information ethically, meaning we should not share anything without permission. And most young people disagrees with sharing others' private details. So finally, let's examine the third set of data, which deals with sharing or publishing other people's private informations. So before we begin with this set of data, let me ask you a question. Do you think it is ever okay to share someone else's private informations without their permission? Now moving on to the third set of data. First, let's begin with the data from UNESCO 2017. Most respondents disagrees with this idea. So this shows strong awareness that sharing private information without consent is wrong. It also reflects an understanding of digital responsibilities and the possible consequences of violating someone's privacy, such as damaging relationship or causing harm. Now, the right side, which is from our research, our respondents also mostly disagrees, although a few had mixed opinions. So this suggests that while many understand consent, there's still a need to strengthen awareness. So it highlights that some individuals may still be unsure about the limits of sharing information, especially online where content can spread quickly. So in conclusion, both the UNESCO data and our research shows a clear pattern. Young people value privacy, they also respect other people's privacy, and they understand that sharing private information without permission is not acceptable. Now let me call on the next presenter, Mr. Rayo Valdez.
So, good day everyone. My name is Rayo Valdez and I will be presenting Unit 2 of Personal Privacy in Connection with Institutions. So first, I would like to ask, how important is security to you? So, privacy versus security. So before, the last presenter talked about privacy. So now we are talking about security. So, what is security? So, security is a protection from resilience against potential harm. Beneficiaries of security may be persons and social groups, objects and institutions, ecosystems, or any other entity or phenomenon vulnerable to unwanted change. So, security is like the state of being free from danger, fear, or risk, encompassing both physical protection and emotional safety. So, an example of this is where there is data privacy or data breaches where sometimes our Facebook accounts get hacked or someone tries to get in without our permission. So as you can see here, there are security alerts from Facebook that pops up whenever someone tries to log in. So next, privacy and security can conflict. So as you can see here that they can conflict by, for example, there's an online safety for children where the UK and Australia ensure safety to children that they now require age assurance. So the privacy risk here is that it creates risks for data breaches involving sensitive information, violating the principle of data minimization. So what is data minimization, you may ask? So this is where they require organizations to collect and retain only the personal data that is strictly necessary, adequate, relevant, and limited to what is needed. So privacy is the fundamental right of individuals to seclude themselves or their information, controlling how they are perceived on and how their personal data is used. So you may ask, what is seclude? So seclude meaning to keep someone or something away from others, often to isolate, hide, or screen from view. So here we have a Venn diagram of security versus privacy. So here we have insecurity where there is unauthorized access such as phishing scams, brute force password guessings, stolen credentials, tailgating into a building, or an employee accessing files outside of their authorized duties. So here, security can offer protection from the the ones who need the protection. So here in privacy, we have um, personally identifiable information where they can keep their information private, and any data that can pinpoint to an individual either by itself or when combined with other information. So we know that security is very important, right? It is agreeable that it is very important for us. Well, how about privacy? And of course, that is important as well. So here we have a study on UNESCO where 55% of the youths agree that their their privacy is their security is more important than privacy. And here in our recent study that it shows that the Filipino youth have more of a neutrality towards the statement, and as you can see here that most almost half of the majority is neutral about it. So it shows that the Filipino youths are uncertain about security. So we have next we have my government has the right to uh, my government has the right know all information about me if it keeps me safe. So now, as you can see that we don't really trust our government that much because of the situations that are happening right now. So here in the UNESCO study, 38% of their youth agree to this statement. So here also in our present study, 52% of the Filipino youth agree if it keeps them safe. So more than half of the Filipino youth trust the government if it keeps them safe. And it is also shown in the results from our research that the youth agree on this if it keeps them safe. So since we're on the topic, and here we have the institutions that use our information. So this is like the institutions that we use for our personal convenience. So trust in institutions. So trust affects willingness to share information, and it will affect user experience if choose not to share personal info. So institutions collect personal data, and the trust affects willingness to share information. So here we have my government has the right to know all information about me. So here it shows that it's just the government knowing all personal information about you. So 60% of the UNESCO study disagree on this statement, and in our present study as well, 50% disagree on this. So next, we have we have this we have these apps that won't work correctly if you do not share your personal info. So here we have websites and computer softwares that need your personal info to function better. So here, have you guys have seen this, right? What's that? Terms and conditions. So we all scroll to this and just quickly accept it to get to the point. So here we have trust in institutions, where the statement says all websites have the right to use your personal information. So 76 of the UNESCO study of the youths actually disagree to this statement. And here in our present study as well, 45% disagree. So while that is a major gap, it is shown that Filipino youths are still neutral about their security. And here we have all computer softwares that have the right to use all your information as well. So it's still shown here that 75% of the UNESCO study of the youths this still disagree to this statement. And also in our study, the Filipino youths are still uncertain about their security and is more neutral to it, but 40% of the youths disagree to this statement. So that is all for my presentation, and may I call on the next presenter?
Thank you, Rayo. Now, before we tackle with my unit, I want to ask you guys a question. If did you know that we always share our information online or through media, knowing and unknowingly? Well, that's what I'm gonna talk about in my unit. Unit 3, confidentiality in relation to personal security and protection. We all have shared our information online through apps, surveys, and etc. From family names, phone numbers, addresses, and also the school we attended to. That is why when we share our information online, we also need to know the risk of sharing it. Well, the first risk I'm gonna talk about right now is identity theft. Identity theft is already well-known risk in sharing personal information in the internet. Many people have already experienced this kind of risk and um, already deals with it. It is where someone steals your personal information, such as social security number, credit score, birth date, or especially your name, not just to blackmail but also to commit fraud or LARPing, to pretend that they are you without the permission coming from you. Now, the second one is data breaches. Data breaches isn't a common risk, or not many people have known this risk, but it is a crime where a sensitive or confidential information is stolen by an unauthorized person. This can also be done by hacking. Third is social engineering. Social engineering is when someone manipulates or a hacker manipulate people to give out confidential information or performing an action to gain their trust in order to get their private information. And then they would use this private information to unlock, like logging into accounts, getting money, or basically blackmailing. Lastly is privacy concerns. This is just the worries and the risk people experiences regarding their regarding on how their personal data is collected, stored, used, and shared by an organization or a third party. Now, let us look at the study conducted by UNESCO in 2017 stated that 79.73% of the youth agreed in publishing their private information through the internet. Then 18 and then and then yeah, 18% of the youth disagreed on sharing their personal information through internet. Meanwhile, the study that we have conducted, which had a seven which had 50% point five have disagreed and 48% have agreed, meant that the youth are already aware of how their personal information is important to them and how the digital world is already growing. Now, after looking into the surveys and then telling you the overviews of the risk, did you know that when facing risk, there are also consequences that comes after? Now let me discuss you the consequences. Now, firstly is identity theft. I have already discussed this earlier, and now I'm going to tell you how to avoid it. We can avoid identity thieves by protecting our information online, such as having two verification codes, face recognition, or fingerprint, or etc. Also, being cautious in sharing links and opening them, and always verifying organizations before signing in. Then, one example of this is one of my family members um, who got her account locked out, and then the next day, another account of her was made. But luckily, we took it down in time within the day. Now, the second one is stalking. Stalking happens when a person repeatedly monitors you or follows you or contacts in a way that makes us uncomfortable. It is driven by an obsession, control, jealousy, or the desire to get an information about a person. In terms of internet, stalking happens all the time, such as viewing your friend's location, um, seeing how your past relationship is doing, and then to be aware of this is that you should watch out from a repeated messages, spams, or someone who knew you too much despite not knowing them at all. Even those you notice a person who keeps popping up the same location as where you're currently at. The third one is damage of reputation. This happens when a false information of you is spread out, causing people to hate you. It can be done by humors, edited or put out of context videos or messages, even fake accounts. It also involves when you've done something wrong despite the people have knew you such a as a good set of example. And then this can spread through social media or any other platforms. We can avoid this by thinking thoroughly in what we post, sharing only appropriate posts, and being respectful in terms of comments or any content that you upload. To ensure the security of our account, to ensure the security of our account, one of my example of this was a flood control which damaged plenty of politics' reputations image towards their people. Now the fourth one is deep fakes or biometric theft. This works by using AI or advanced technology to steal a person's identity, often for frauds or deception, making realistic videos like someone said something despite not them doing it at all. Avoiding this risk may be hard as you can easily use ChatGPT, Gemini, or any other AI tools to generate videos of your friends or any of your known family members. But we can avoid this by not sharing too much our not sharing too much of our picture online or our fingerprints or not posting that much. Now, one of my example of this was the San Miguel Corporation, or the SMC, warned about the deepfake video of Chairman and CEO Ramon S. Ang about making people persuading to click malicious links for them to get money, or for e-payments to get access to their informations. Now, after we have discussed about the risk in sharing too much information online, let me tell you, let's view the study of UNESCO in 2017 stated that 40.65% of the youth agreed on how their shared personal information in the internet cannot affect them at all. Meanwhile, 57.72 says that it does affect them, and 1.64% showed no answers. Now, let's look in our study. 45, 45 44.5% says that it does affect them in sharing personal information or private info online, while 54.5% agreed on how it does not affect them, showing the big difference between big difference between the surveys and how youth and majority of the people view their personal information. Now, after looking the risk and consequences, and then about sharing too much information online, how will you handle your digital life now that you have knew those things? Well, there's actually a protective action that can be done by learning MIL skills. As MIL skills helps you to protect your data, understand, evaluate, and look into info that are hard to find. These skills are these skills include These skills includes knowing the reliable sources, recognize fake news or misleading content, and think critically about what you see or read. Now, ML guides us in adjusting our settings, set up passwords, app permissions, and hide sensitive notifications when still in lock screen. Now, the second one is ML is guides us in learning about safety. It helps us to set up strong passwords, being aware of scams, and double checking the safety of the sites you visit. Now, again, another survey study by UNESCO in 2017 stating that 77.9 of the youth adjust their settings in social networks platforms frequently, and 16.26 answered seldom or very seldom. Meanwhile, 4.02 answered never. In our study, 64% have stated that they frequently adjust their settings in social media. Meanwhile, 32 have answered seldom. In another survey, again by UNESCO in 2017, when they have asked if they read the parts of privacy policies of social networks, less than half, or 46 of the youth reportedly says that they have frequently or very frequently read the documents of privacy policies. Meanwhile, in our study, showed that 50.5% have answered frequently and very frequently about reading the privacy policies of social networks. Now, lastly, another study conducted by UNESCO in 2017 about the search for a read information about how to stay safe online. Reportedly, 42% of the youth have searched and read how to stay safe online, and then 36 says that they have shared those informations to their families, whilst 56 of this youth stayed neutral or very seldom. Now, um, now this finding deepens the understanding of how different the respondents are in terms of searching safety online. Meanwhile, our study, 55% of the respondents have answered frequently, and very frequently in terms of searching their safety online, while 57.5% have answered neutral. And then that's all for my part. Now I'm gonna call out the next presenter.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Mr. Medroso. Now I will be presenting to you the last unit, which is Unit 4, Actions to Stay Safe, Protect Privacy, and Advocating for Privacy Online. Now, have any of you guys here played at computer shops before? Assuming you said yes, then I'm guessing that you must have an experience where you forgot to log out your account and then resulting in you leaving your account in the computer. So it doesn't log out automatically by itself. And then some of your friends might, as a joke, might post something like this, right? Or have you ever had videos in the internet from before where you were still young? Then you posted some videos that are kind of like you're embarrassed of right now, or do you have, or do you have your pictures or videos from your Judgment days, and then your friends might dig it up and then make fun of you for it? Well, that can be how most of the cyberbullying starts nowadays. It roots from your footprints, digital footprints. Studies actually say that um, teens who experienced cyberbullying were 1.58 to 2.45 times more likely to develop depression. Among victims, up to 49.1% of females showed depressive symptoms. Suicidal thoughts reached 12.1% among female victims. Now, this shows that cyberbullying should be avoided, right? But how can we really prevent cyberbullying and the results of it? But first, UNESCO asked the UNESCO asked the youth. No, wait, I take it back. So, take a look at this girl right here. When the Instagram model apologizes after racist tweets from 2013 resurfaces. This shows that she also once posted something that could have caused her, resulted in her being criticized in the near future. This is why we should be mindful of what we post online. Now, UNESCO asked the youth on um, have they ever experienced where they felt their safety online was threatened? And most of the youth answered yes. This also applies similarly to our survey, where the youths also in local context said yes. This shows that we need something to prevent this or to protect the youth. This is where debates come in. Debates come in because debates are important because it raises awareness, highlights the serious effects of cyberbullying and privacy breaches. It encourages governments to push online platforms to improve safety features and policies, and it also protects people's right to privacy and security online. It also helps users become more informatively cautious on the internet. So, UNESCO, back in 2017, also asked the youth if whether they pay attention to debates about safety online. And most of the youth answered yes. This goes similarly to our survey as well. Most of them also said yes. But clearly, um, when this was presented at a classroom, I asked everyone if they actually pay attention to debates online, and most said no. This shows that we only answer what's favorable, not uh, what we actually think. So never mind that. Let's continue. So um, advocating for safety online is also important because it promotes digital literacy and awareness, encourages responsible and respectful online behavior. It also protects privacy and personal data, and it helps advocate more for stronger cybersecurity laws and policies. UNESCO also asked if the youth pays attention, advocates for safety online, and most again answered yes, and the same applies for our survey. Now that we have discussed the four major units of our study, we will now move on to one of the most important parts of our presentation, our key findings. Um, These findings summarize the most significant patterns that emerge from our survey and help us better understand how students perceive privacy, safety, and their responsibilities in the digital environment. Our first key finding is the importance of privacy. Based on our survey, most students strongly agreed that privacy is something valuable and should be protected. This shows that young people recognize privacy as an essential right, especially in today's digital world where personal information is constantly being shared. Our second finding focuses on government access to data. We found that students had mixed opinions regarding whether institutions or government agencies should have access to personal information for public safety and security purposes. While some respondents viewed it as necessary, others expressed concerns about misuse or overreach. The third finding involves privacy versus safety. Our data showed that many students understand that privacy and safety can sometimes conflict. For example, sharing certain information may increase convenience or protection, but at the same time may reduce personal privacy. The fourth finding examines security versus privacy priority. Many respondents place high importance on security, even if it meant giving up some level of privacy. This suggests that when students perceive potential threats, safety often becomes their immediate priority. Our fifth risk awareness finding is risk awareness. Most participants showed awareness of the risks associated with sharing personal information online, including identity theft, scams, cyberbullying, and unauthorized access to personal data. Our sixth finding highlights what researchers call the privacy paradox. This refers to a situation where individuals claim that privacy is important to them, yet their online behavior does not always reflect that belief. In our study, we observed that even though our students value privacy, some still share personal details on digital platforms. Like, for example, what Leonard presented earlier when he was talking about a girl that um, uh, posted something online with her location. Anyways, our seventh finding involves the idea of a free and open internet. Many students support the idea that the internet should remain accessible, open, and supportive of freedom of expression, while still maintaining boundaries that protect users from harm. Our eighth key finding is uh, focuses on self-empowerment through media and information literacy or MIL. Many students recognize that having knowledge about digital safety, fact looking at privacy settings and responsible online behavior helps them become more confident and protected online. Our ninth finding involves online threat experiences. A significant number of respondents reported encountering online risks such as suspicious links, fake accounts, privacy breaches, cyberbullying, or unwanted interactions. This shows that online threats are not just theoretical concerns, but real experiences that affect many young users. Our tenth and final key finding is safety awareness efforts. We found that many students are already taking steps to protect themselves, according to them, such as using passwords, adjusting privacy settings, being cautious with links, and becoming more selective about what they share online. However, our findings also suggest that these efforts are not always consistent. After analyzing our findings, several important themes emerge from the data. We will now present the analysis and discussions. First, we observe that the privacy paradox clearly exists among students. Although many respondents strongly express that privacy is important, some of their online behaviors, such as sharing personal information or accepting unknown connections, suggest otherwise. This reveals a gap between what students believe and what they actually do online. Second, our studies showed a clear trade-off between privacy and security. Many participants were willing to sacrifice some level of personal privacy if it meant feeling safer or more protected. This reflects a common college challenge in digital age where convenience, monitoring, and protection often come at a cost of personal data. Third, we noticed a large number of neutral responses in several survey questions. This may suggest uncertainty, lack of confidence, limited understanding of privacy concepts, or difficulty making decisions about complex digital issues. Another important observation is the belief versus action gap. While awareness about online risks is generally high, awareness alone does not always lead to protective behavior. Knowing about privacy is different from constantly practicing it. Finally, our analysis strongly emphasizes the importance of MIL, or what we call it, media and information literacy. The results suggest that students need not only awareness but also practical digital skills that help them apply privacy and safety practices in real life situations. To conclude, our study found that students generally have a strong awareness of the importance of privacy and safety online. Many Many respondents understand the risk of sharing personal information and recognize the need to protect themselves in digital spaces. However, despite this awareness, our findings also revealed inconsistencies between knowledge and actual behavior. While students may understand privacy in theory, their actions do not always reflect that understanding. Additionally, our findings closely align with the global UNESCO study, suggesting that the challenges faced by young people regarding privacy and digital safety are not only local concerns but a part of a broader global issue. Ultimately, this study highlights the growing importance of media and information literacy in helping young people become not only informed users of technology, but also responsible, critical, and empowered digital citizens. As the digital world continues to evolve, privacy education, responsible online behavior, stronger awareness efforts will remain essential in creating safer online communities. And I believe and I believe that would be all for our presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.